Riyad al-Assad, commander of the CIA-backed Free Syrian Army, announced on Saturday that Syria's main rebel group is moving its command center across the Turkish border into Syria itself in preparation for an attack on Damascus. The CIA has been funneling weapons to the FSA for several weeks now in preparation for the assault, transferring the weapons by way of intermediaries, including Syria's Muslim Brotherhood. The CIA is also providing detailed intelligence and satellite data regarding Syrian army positions and troop movements. Under these conditions, the fall of the Syrian government is very likely in the months to come. One extremely unpredictable element in this equation is whether Iran, Syria's closest ally, will intervene to defend Damascus. Such a scenario could provide a pretext for a U.S. attack on Iran. Last Thursday, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov warned Israel and other nations not to attack Iran over its nuclear program, saying, quote, "We warn those who are no strangers to military solutions that this would be harmful, literally disastrous for regional stability, and would set off deep shocks in the security and economic spheres that would reverberate far beyond the boundaries of the Middle East region." This warning came on the same day that Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was briefed by U.S. Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta and National Security Advisor Tom Danilin regarding U.S. preparations for a possible confrontation with Iran. According to Haaretz, a top Israeli official has been quoted as saying the following: "As opposed to the Bush administration, the Obama administration is indeed carrying out steps in the Gulf, transferring forces and preparing bases. There is an unprecedented U.S. deployment opposite Iran." These developments in Syria and Iran make much more sense when you look at them in the context of these statements, which were made recently by former IMF economist Patrick Clausen in a speech given for the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. The Washington Institute for Near East Policy is a highly influential neocon think tank, which publicly states that its mission is to influence the U.S. executive branch and the media.
I frankly think that crisis initiation is really tough. And it's very hard for me to see how the United States president can get us to war with Iran. Which leads me to conclude that if, in fact, compromise is not coming, that the traditional way of America gets to war is what would be best for U.S. interests. Some people might think that Mr. Roosevelt wanted to get us into World War II, as David mentioned. You may recall we had to wait for Pearl Harbor. Some people might think Mr. Wilson wanted to get us into World War I. You may recall he had to wait for the Lusitania episode. Some people might think that Mr. Johnson wanted to send troops to Vietnam. You may recall he had to wait for the Gulf of Tonkin episode. We didn't go to war with Spain until the until the Maine exploded. And may I point out that Mr. Lincoln did not feel he could call out the Federal Army until Fort Sumter was attacked, which is why he ordered the commander at Fort Sumter to do exactly that thing which the South Carolinians had said would cause an attack. So if, in fact, the Iranians aren't going to compromise, it would be best if somebody else started the war. One can combine other means of pressure with sanctions. I mentioned that explosion on August 17th. We could step up the pressure. I mean, look, people, Iranian submarines periodically go down. Someday one of them might not come up. Who would know why? We can do a variety of things if we wish to increase the pressure. I'm not advocating that. But I'm just suggesting that this is not a either-or proposition of, it's just sanctions has to succeed or other things. We are in the game of using covert means against the Iranians. We could get nastier at that.